Yes, welcome to lecture 1. We shall be dealing with the anatomical part of the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system is just composed of the vascular system whereby we have the lymphatic system and then we have the circulatory system. The cardiovascular system shall be dealing with mainly blood, shall deal with the heart, then the blood vessels. The heart is a whole organ that is made up of muscles. This is the cardiac muscle, which we call myocardium, and it's responsible for pumping blood. The blood vessels, they transport blood from the heart then back to the heart. Then we have different blood cells, whereby we have the white blood cells, the red blood cells, the platelets, as we shall discuss more in details. Blood is mainly one of the connective tissues, because we have 4 types of connective tissues. We have epithelial tissue, we have nervous tissue, we have connective tissue, then we have the muscle tissue. So blood is an example of a connective tissue, and it's liquid in nature. It's mainly composed of the plasma, which is the liquid part, and then the blood cells, which is the solid part. The heart, we said, it's a hollow muscular tissue, muscular organ that's mainly involved in pumping of blood. Then the lymphatic tissue, the lymphatic vessel, what it does is transports lymph. So blood is mainly specialized, and it's a connective tissue, liquid in color, always red in color. The liquid part is mainly plasma, and this makes up 55-70% of blood. The 45% is mainly erythrocytes, which are mainly red blood cells, and then the 1% is mainly other cells. The cells within blood, we call them blood elements, and each blood cell performs a specific role. Blood has a neutral pH of 7.4, and the total amount of blood is mainly 7% of the body weight. For example, if somebody is of 70 kg, then he has 7 liters of blood. Blood plays various roles or functions, and one of the major functions of blood is that it transports oxygen. This is mainly from the heart either to the lungs. This is blood either containing carbon dioxide. Then it also transports oxygen from the with from the lungs to the heart, then to the tissues. Remember, the tissues respire, and during respiration, oxygen is needed. Carbon dioxide is produced as a byproduct of respiration, and this carbon dioxide has to be taken out of the body, and it's mainly carried by the heart, by blood, just within plasma, and taken back to the lungs, whereby it's carbon dioxide will have to diffuse from blood back to the lungs, and it's exhaled. The other function of blood is that blood transports nutrients. This is like from the digestive system to tissues whereby these nutrients are needed. Blood transports hormones, and these hormones produced mainly by the endocrine glands. Because we know that endocrine glands, for them, they lack ducts, unlike the exocrine glands, which have ducts. An example of the endocrine glands, we shall use an example of the ovaries, whereby ovary is produced within the whereby the ovaries produce estrogen. Estrogen is now the hormone. It has to be taken to the target site, which is the pituitary gland, and it's mainly transported through blood. The other role of blood is that blood transports waste products, and an example, we have the creatine, then we have urea. Urea and creatine are transported through blood to the kidney and then the livers for excretion. Blood is composed of mainly plasma and then the blood elements, and these blood elements we refer them as blood cells. These blood cells are mainly erythrocytes, which we call them red blood cells, the thrombocytes, which we call as platelets, then the lymphocytes, which we refer to as white blood cells. This the plasma is mainly 55-70%, and most of the part of plasma is mainly 90% is composed of water, and just within this water whereby these nutrients are always dissolved. Plasma is mainly divided into serum and then fibrinogen, then the formed elements, which we refer to as the blood cells. These are mainly three. Whereby we have the leukocytes, erythrocytes, then the thrombocytes. The leukocytes are divided into either granular or agranular, depending if they contain granules upon staining within the cytoplasm. We refer them as granular. Then agranular within the cytoplasm, they lack granules, or the granules are not seen within their cytoplasm. Granular lymphocytes are further divided into three, whereby we have the eosinophil, neutrophil, then the basophil. And these play each specific role. For example, eosinophils, these are mainly these play a major role in fighting parasitic infections. The neutrophils play a major role in fighting bacterial infections and the viral infections. Then the basophils, these play a major role in blood clotting, whereby basophils for them they produce histamine and histamine which plays a role in inflammation. The lymphocytes, these play specific roles in the immune system, whereby you have two types of lymphocytes. You have the B and then the T lymphocytes. Then you have the monocytes. These develop into macrophages if they mature, and the major role of monocytes is that they engulf foreign materials through phagocytosis. As we see, this is blood. When blood is centrifuged, putting it into a centrifuge, then rotate it, we shall find out after centrifuging, this is how it will be. The upper part will be always the plasma, then the middle layer is made up of some blood cells, then the biggest part, which is 45%, will be red blood cells. This is like in details. After centrifuging, this is the liquid part, which is made up of water, then the nutrients, like proteins, electrolytes, they always be within plasma. Then the middle part will always be this, which is less than 1%. These are other blood cells, except with the exception of erythrocytes, which are the most numerous. So each of the blood cell plays a specific role, which we shall see in details. Each blood cell has a specific structure and function. As we see, red blood cells are mainly biconcave in shape. As we see here, these are red blood cells. They are biconcave in shape. Red blood cells, they play a major role in transporting oxygen. Red blood cells, they lack nuclei, and and the other cells, there are these leukocytes, which we refer as white blood cells, and each has a specific function depending either they are granular or agranular. We say that in granular, for them they contain granules upon staining, and each plays a specific function. For example, we shall see that these granular ones, for them, they have their nucleus, which is segmented, which is fragmented. The nucleus of granular leukocytes is segmented. Then lastly, we have the platelets. Platelets play a major role in blood clotting. They stop blood from clotting. We shall start with red blood cells, which we refer to as erythrocytes. These are the most numerous. For example, we see there are only 6 to 8 millions per cubic millimeter of blood, biconcave in shape, lack nucleus. This enables them to pack more hemoglobin so that more oxygen can be carried. The red blood cells or erythrocytes, for them, they are thin and flexible. This enables them to squeeze through the capillaries and then the blood vessels like arteries and the veins. Red blood cells or erythrocytes have shorter lifespan of mainly 120 days, and after 120 days, these red blood cells will be destroyed. Mainly, they'll be destroyed and they'll be converted either back to the bone marrow or they'll be converted into the bile pigment by the liver. They are produced through a process that we call erythropoiesis, and the hormone that controls the production of red blood cells, we call it erythropoietin. Red blood cells, they also come from the stem cells. The second type of blood cell, we call it leukocytes. And these leukocytes, for them the function is to defend the body against infections. And these leukocytes are divided into different cells. As we shall see, we have the lymphocytes, whereby you have lymphocyte, the B and the T lymphocyte. We have the monocytes, we have basophil, eosinophil, then the neutrophil. Those are all leukocytes. As we see, these are the different cells that are under the white blood cells or the leukocytes. The major leukocytes are mainly granulocytes, and these are 70%. They account for 70%, with neutrophils being the most abundant. The most abundant granulocyte is neutrophil. Upon staining neutrophils with the neutral dye, the cytoplasm turns into the color is always red. They are the most abundant, and they form 90%. Neutrophils are mainly they play a role in defending the body. Presence of neutrophils in the body shows an infection, but we have cases whereby neutrophils are absent, and we always refer to as such conditions being neutropenia. And neutropenia is mainly a major characteristic of viral infections. We have the eosinophils. Eosinophils, what they do is that for them they stain acidic dyes, and their granules, or the granules as you see these are the granules within the cytoplasm, would now turn into red. Eosinophils, for them, they are the most abundant and they form 90%. Eosinophils increase, whereby in cases whereby you see that the number of eosinophils increases within the body, it indicates a parasitic infection. For example, in cases of malaria, we shall see that the eosinophils increase due to it being a parasitic infection. Basophils, for them, they take up the alkaline dyes, and the granules in their cytoplasm they stain it blue. As we see, for them, they're always small. They're the smallest within the leukocytes. They produce histamine and heparin. Histamine plays a major function within the inflammation, and it prevents unnecessary blood clotting. Then the other second type of leukocytes are the granulocytes, and these granulocytes are mainly divided into the lymphocytes and then the monocytes. The lymphocytes, we have the B and the T lymphocytes. These play a major role within the immune system. The monocytes, for them, they develop into macrophages, and their major role is to engulf foreign materials. The third blood cell or the blood element is what we call the thrombocytes. These also lack nuclei, and they play a major role within blood clotting. Blood vessels are mainly three types, whereby you have the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. The arteries, as we shall see, we shall use this diagram, it is better. The arteries for them, they are made up of a thick wall. Remember, they transport blood from the coming from the heart, which is having high pressure. So the walls is thick. They're made up. The artery is made up of three layers. We have the tunica adventitia, which is the outer layer. And this is mainly made up of elastic fibers that enable it to contract. Then the middle layer, which is made up of the smooth muscles, then some elastic fibers, and then the tunica intima. Then the veins and the capillaries. The capillaries for them they are small, thin-walled, then permeable. Then they play a major role in exchange of gases. The heart is mainly the principal organ. It's made up of the pericardium, which is the outer layer. The position of the heart is in the mediastinum. It is made up of three layers: epicardium, pericardium, then the myocardium. As we see that the heart is always located just in between the two pleura of the thorax. The heart is made up of four chambers, as we shall see, made up of four chambers, and these four chambers we have the atrium, then the ventricle, then the atrium, and then the ventricle. The two sides are separated by the septum. This is the whole myocardium. Blood coming from the body enters through the vena cava, then the right atrium, right ventricle, then the pulmonary artery, then blood coming from the heart, from the lungs, will enter through the pulmonary vein, the left atrium, left ventricle, then to the aorta, and transported the body. This is like how it is. Thanks. Maybe if there's any question, but you have to understand the structure properly so that we can understand the second lecture about the function of the heart.